Bonjour mes enfants! It's your Uncle Dan the Vinyl Man, back with another episode of Uncle Dan's Vintage Vinyl. Today I'm actually going to teach you something, except it's probably not anything you really need to know, but I'll teach you anyway. I want to talk to you today about three of my favorite albums of all time, and three albums that aren't as well known as I think they should be. And those albums are all by David Lindley. They are Rayo-X by David Lindley from 1981. Win This Record by David Lindley and El Rayo-X from 1982. And Very Greasy by David Lindley and El Rayo-X from 1988. All from the 80s. And these albums have been described as white boy reggae, which is perhaps a fair description of them. But the albums are just great. David Lindley is best known as a great lap steel guitarist, playing lap steel, most notably probably on Jackson Browne's Running on Empty. If you remember Running on Empty, there is a lap steel, actually two lap steel parts in there, two lap steel breaks in there that are just face melting parts. Lindley just annihilates everything on lap steel on that, and he was a great lap steel player. He was actually just a great multi-instrumentalist. Also on Running on Empty, if you know that, there's the great version of Cocaine Blues recorded in a hotel in Edwardsville, Illinois, but they recorded it in a hotel room in Edwardsville, Illinois. And Lindley plays a violin part that I think is just completely lovely. And great album, and David Lindley's playing is fabulous. Lindley also plays guitar and lap steel on Jackson Browne's Late for the Sky album. And I think that the brief guitar break in the song Late for the Sky is one of the most perfectly realized guitar solos ever. It is not fancy, it's not complicated, but it is profoundly soulful. It's a very beautiful tone. Done on a Telecaster, I believe. I haven't seen that confirmed, but I've seen a live cut in which he plays on a Telecaster. So I'm guessing it was on a Telecaster. Gets an incredibly warm sound. But he's mainly noted as a tremendous lap steel guitarist. He got into world music, and actually these albums were kind of a way into that for him. But he got into world music. He plays all sorts of instruments, oud and bouzouki, and just all sorts of things. But just a great guitarist. And these three albums. He started off. El Rayo-X was the first, which was the hit number 10, or El Rayo, the hit X, and it is curiously in Spanish. Although I understand that Lindley doesn't actually speak Spanish, but it is just full of great stuff. These are three albums. I'm happy to listen to them just completely all the way through. All of them are great. Incredibly tight band, just beautiful. A reggae can have a real loose feel to it. I mean, that's best. It's when it feels kind of loose and all. But man, you got to have a really tight band to do that. And Lindley has a really tight band. On this, I mean, standout cuts. It's all great, but standout cuts include the first one. She Took Off My Romeos. This album is so good that my oldest child, who's now 37, about to turn 38, at one point after she moved away from home, said, "You know, Dad, that album, there's one album with that song, She Took Off My Romeos on it." She said, "What was that?" And I told her, and she said, "Hey, yeah, it's kind of nice." So I bought her a copy, got her a CD. But others. Mercury Blues, which is an old blues by K.C. Douglas. There is Lindley completely demolishes everything on that. If anything, it's a tougher lap steel part that he plays there. than he played on Running on Empty. And I saw Lindley play this live, and he destroyed everything. Everything. It's like it was Ragnarok. It was Armageddon. It was everything. So really great. Quarter of a Man is fun. And then there's Ain't No Way on this album, which starts off with William Smitty Smith was the organist playing a B3, and starts off with a very, very simple. He just hits like 3 notes and draws them out, and you keep thinking, the song's gonna start. The song, it's just and it's just like and it's such a great pull, and then bam, it goes, and it's like, oh, thank you. And the outro on that song it's very simple guitar work, and it's incredibly satisfying. Lindley could shred basically, but he didn't bother most of the time. I mean, he was playing to the song, and that was he was playing the song, and it's great. So that's a great one. On the other side, Your Old Lady is great because the song turns out he's stealing his best friend's old lady. So Tuberculosis and the Sinus Blues is just a romp, just an incredible romp. And then Pay the Man is a very sad song. It's but anyway, well worth listening to. This is the first one I got. It came out the year I started playing guitar in 1982, and I bought a Guitar Player magazine, and this album was reviewed in it. And I was like, I read the review, and I was like, oh man, this is really cool. For one thing, I bought my first guitar was a Teisco Del Rey, notoriously cheap guitar, and he was playing Teiscos and stuff like that. Just as he's here playing a K, you see him playing a K, and the guys in the background. He's on a national with Glenwood, and probably another national, a national bass there, I believe. No, he's on the bass, and he's on the Glenwood. So anyway, playing funky guitars and getting great tones. I remember at one point I talked to a guy, a guitar store owner, and he was a friend of mine, kind of. And I said, man, what I'd really like to do is get David Lindley's guitar tone from Running on Empty. And he said, so would everybody, Dan. So would everybody. Anyway, this is just a great album. Talk to the Lawyer. As a lawyer, this is great to me. Talk to the Lawyer, professional liar man. But just great. Rocket with I, Brother John, Turning Point. These are songs, just good grief. Great albums, by the way, for if you're driving somewhere and you got to drive for a while, especially if you start getting a little tired. Put these on. For the last one, the Very Greasy. Oh man, it's just fabulous. Give me the ting. Do you want to dance? The version of Papa Was a Rolling Stone on here just kills it. Up, down, sideways, every way, just kills it. It's beautiful. Do Werewolves of London, and it is a hilarious version. That's where Very Greasy comes from, because I was at Trader Vic's and saw Jack Nicholson there. His hair was perfect, and my hair was. And the band comes in and says, "Very," and he says, "Very greasy." Or the band says, "Very greasy." And they say, "Very, very greasy indeed." So it's great. Texas Tango, Never Knew Her. It's like a lot of these are really fun songs, but some of them kind of sad. Never Knew Her is one of those. Talking to the Wino, wonderful. And then Tiki Torches at Twilight, which is just great fun. So then for me, the last thing that I need to say about this is that an old buddy of mine, one day I was listening to these at my office, or at my former law firm. She came in and said, "Oh yeah, I knew him. I grew up next door to him. I knew his kids. We just thought that he was the old guy who smelled like marijuana." Anyway, these are three of the best. Three of my absolute favorites. I've listened to these more than most stuff, outside of some Dylan and Golden Smog, Jayhawks. And probably as much as Jayhawks. Anyway, great stuff. Highly recommended. Go out and, if you like fun music, just tight band, everything, get it. Okay, this is Uncle Dan, the Vinyl Man, saying, as always, Maison Funk. Au revoir et aussi à bientôt.